What's up, Ed? And you're on mute, so don't forget to unmute.
I just saw the red line.
How's it going, dude?
Good, brother. Doing good.
Good, man. This is a cool week. We got special guests coming up here, so
Yes, we
we'll
do.
bring them in just a second. How's everything going on in your world, man? I love the shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Creative Realms shirt with the awesome pirate logo on there. Super
Of
stoked
course,
about
I
that.
forgot to wear it. We should have to wear it
Got-
tonight. We should have
got your
coordinated
damn
that a bit
uniform.
better.
And where's your uniform?
Exactly.
Anyway, it's been 3 weeks, brother. How's things been going?
It's been dude, it's been a hell of a 3 weeks, as you know, offline. Personal struggles, successes, wins, losses, and even bigger wins. I think, right? Like, they say when they kick you down, it's not how many times you get knocked down; it's how many more times you get back up, right? So it's
Right.
been a hell of a run. But I'm on the other side of it. I'm really happy, dude. Like it's been, it's been a ton of fun, and a ton of tears. But we're kicking ass and taking names again, so I'm happy.
Here's a nice little break for you to get some Hexastack work done, which are looking amazing.
Thank you. I'm actually really excited with that. Hexastack is making moves. We have been selling, a ton of product. We have a ton of product we've been producing. Can fill orders. I actually got an order in like 2 hours ago, that I was ready to print the label out, and then I realized they didn't have a box because there was so many units in it. So I have to go out to the store tomorrow morning and pick up a box up at the post office to pack that
Not a
order
bad
in.
problem to have, right?
Not at all, but it'll be going out tomorrow. So for those that have ordered up till today, anything that has come in that hasn't been shipped as of yet will be going out tomorrow. But yeah, man, got a lot going on with that. And honestly, before we bring them in, there's two pieces, right? I was redoing the printers. We knew about that, but it's actually a lot of the motivation for really moving that marker ahead is from our guests that we're bringing on tonight, Creative Realms. Terrence presented me an opportunity to bring my stance forward at some conventions with him, and he and Gina have taken that with Creative Realms and moved that forward for me, had it down at ToyLanta. So without further ado, let's bring those guys on before we dive too deep into everything. And but yeah, let's get those guys in. Oh darn, sorry, hold on a second. See if I can make this a little bit bigger. Let's just maximize
I know
that.
I'm ugly, but you didn't have to leave me out completely.
Frickin' amateur hour here. Jesus.
I got us. We're good. We're good. There we go. I'll figure it out.
Terrence, I still think you're good looking. He might not, but I do.
It was purposeful. I was trying to keep it on the best looking portion of the photo, and between Gina and the logo in the background, I was trying to take care of everything.
No doubt.
Travis, treat you guys like you're the old prom photo where you fold over the girlfriend you're not with anymore, right?
Well, there's so
Awesome.
many eligible bachelors at all these cons that Gina goes to.
I know, right?
That's awesome. Yeah. So we wanted to bring you guys on because you're doing something really cool. We're gonna, for folks that haven't followed us too long and are just joining in, we always go over some core things. Tonight we're actually skipping a few of those, but we like to focus on independent toys and what they're doing in the independent toy space. There's a ton of folks that cover your mainstream. Ed and I, we stick to what we know or what we like to play with, and that's where our dollars are spent. And most of them are in the independent space. But we want to bring you guys in because you got some really cool stuff. And Terrence, when I want to say it must have been in maybe November, maybe just after Legion's Con or so, sometime right around the holidays, we started connecting on a couple things. And, we had that opportunity to, just present, the chance for Hexastack to be part of your adventure. And I can't thank you enough, and thank you for joining. The motivation and conversations we had around it from the get-go really lit a fire under me, wanted to really push that product forward. And I really appreciate it because it's been successful. I'm really, really pleased with it. I've gotten great feedback from customers, and folks seem to be really pleased with them.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the words were that Terrence used because I've been pushing this dude forever to get light a fire under his ass. And he just was like, yeah, I'll get to it. Then he talks to Terrence and he's like, dude, I'm going full bore.
Well, it's like when I talk to my son, you know what I mean? Like I tell my son all sorts of stuff and like he doesn't listen to me.
Right.
And then he meets somebody, they talk to him for 30 seconds, and all of a sudden it's like he's never heard the speech before.
Right. Yeah, I know. Had the
You
same
know,
problem with my
I
son.
think I think it's a combination of a couple things, right? I think it's a combination. I went to Legions Con, had the chance to see that and experience that for the first time, and if you think back to kind of the ups and downs of Hexastack, it was right around Legions Con back in 2023. I was supposed to go with product, had a lot of issues, also got to serve a cease and desist, and there's just a lot of stuff around it. And being back at Legions Con last year allowed me the opportunity to again, see a ton of cool people, see and be in that environment that I got to see at PowerCon prior. And then the conversation that we had, Terrence, later later on afterwards, really, helped motivate me in that direction. Replacing my printers, getting new ones, got a really killer deal on some new models that came out, which they're just pumping out product around the clock, and I've been so pleased with it. I haven't spent too much time having to fix things over there, which the amount of hours that were burned with the resin stuff is, I may never touch resin again because of it. So, I can't thank you enough. And Ed, no, I'm not going to listen to you, Dad.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. Just in the last couple of months as you've gotten the new printers in. I mean, I know when you first got them in, I remember you setting them up and sending me some videos as you were getting into it. And like it's kind of like seeing a kid with new toys. You know what I mean? Like you could see the enthusiasm through the text and the videos that you were sending over. And I was just, I didn't like. I'm not a big I don't know how to 3D print at this point. I'd love to learn more about it, but like, watching you do it and just seeing the enthusiasm, it's almost a reciprocating excitement. You know what I mean? I'm glad that you got excited to do it. I got excited watching you do it, and knowing that it was going to lead to more business for you. You know what I mean?
And we don't want to forget. We don't want to forget that this big deal helped you out too. Punk.
He did. And hey, let's give Punk a great, he called me over the weekend. We talked about a few things. He made some great suggestions to the product, which I'm going to be including over the next couple days. It doesn't change what we've already done. It just enhances what we've been doing. And I think some consumers, just little things, right? Sometimes when you're in your zone, you miss things on the peripherals. And he was able to give me some awesome feedback over the weekend. So I'm going to get a couple pieces out to him to take a look at that he can take a look at. And hopefully he'll have some stuff up here soon.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Enough about me and my raging success story over the last few weeks, right?
Before we move along, I just want to tell you how many of the wives loved your Hexastacks because they open up and they hold all the things. Like that was like a huge selling point for the wives.
Yeah. That was like a get-go idea for me, like from the beginning. Obviously, if you go back and you look at the original models, it's funny. I was looking at my website and I was looking at the Kickstarter from the images, and I've always had the storage and stuff. But even you, Ed, you've seen that progression from model 1 to the sales model that's going out now, and the storage and just everything about it. It's just enhanced and become better. But that storage was like there's things I removed. I removed the magnets, at least for the time being, just because of the cost and what it would really benefit someone. And there was other adjustments we made, but one thing I was never going to remove was the storage. And that was something folks had, from a manufacturing standpoint, it suggested to me in the beginning, is that something you could sacrifice? And that was something I wasn't, because my own wife was like, no, that's great. You can keep your stuff in one spot. Your room's a mess. Yep. I'm sick of the Ziploc bags. And the amount of time she would go into the pantry and look for Ziploc bags that, someone had maybe, rifled through and taken and forgot to tell us we needed to get when we go to the store. I'm sure I had my ear full of that. So, the storage is great, and it's not just beneficial to us nerdy dudes. It's beneficial to the adjacent individuals in someone's life that's sick and tired of seeing a mess all over the shelves.
Yeah.
So, to me, it's like curating your collection.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I got something really cool, and again, I'm gonna have to thank the people at the bottom of the screen. I haven't gotten much in the way of pickups recently. I don't have it here next to me because I actually gifted it to my son, who will be with me next weekend. I got the Toylanta Spiro exclusive, which Terrence sent up to me for what is it, Moshio? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Moshi Zero. I think they're trying
Moshi
to
Zero.
Actually, it's on your side. If you don't mind grabbing it right there, in the shelf right there.
So,
a little bit of glare there. I'm sorry.
yes. Here, let me full screen you real quick. Yeah, so that I did get. I received that. Thank you again, Terrence. And I did pick that up. I also know Endless Fables was doing a great job kind of trying to help folks that didn't have a chance to get down to Toylanta pick that up. So I was able to gift that to my son for Easter. And he was really pumped about that. Very excited. Oh, Dad, is there more? When's the fox coming? When's the dog coming? So he's very excited for the rest of his AWalk figures. And it was cool to get something new there.
Does Son of Wonder know about the Thundercats?
No, he doesn't. He does not. I'm going to, though. I am going to show it to him. I've gotten him into quite a bit.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
I
He always wears when Dad says that, you know?
No, I've shown him a little bit of He-Man in the past. It wasn't really his thing, but I've shown him. I think the big one is the Pirates of the Dark Water, which we know is a huge passion of mine that I love. I think it's the one thing I always anchor back to in every want list that there is. But yeah, that's what I got in pickups. Ed, you get anything cool in the last few weeks?
No, but I have 3 big bad Sasquatch figures en route, so I'm pretty excited. I will have them.
3 more?
The 3 big ones that are coming. They're finally shipped. So.
Oh, okay. Are those the loose collector things or?
Yep.
Oh man.
And they're coming out with more stuff. They have more loose collectors coming out with some more characters too. It looks like from what I saw.
Yeah, I just pre-ordered the Dogman and the Chupacabra. So.
Holy cow! Terrence and Gina, did you guys get anything cool?
Well, I've been, so it's funny, this last couple of weeks has been crazy because right before we went to Toylanta. While I was at Toylanta, both my all-in for Legendary showed up and my all-in actually maybe right before Toylanta, I got my Rising Suns.
Yeah.
That had come in. I still haven't unboxed that. That's how far behind I am right now with everything going on. Because we've also been in the process of moving too. So we're actually in our new house. Awesome. And then we obviously picked up the Toylanta exclusive Moshi, and then we got the Lieutenant Holiday.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a little busy, but yeah, we've had some nice pickups. I haven't had the chance to enjoy them yet, but that's another toy collector issue right now. We live in a great age of so many things being available. And I think not that long ago, people were complaining of, when are my stuff coming? Well, it's all coming now. That's what it is. It's all happening now.
Yeah. Now we have the opposite problem. It's all coming at once.
Yeah, slow down,
Right. Absolutely. And as you say that and not having enough time to play, I look over to the right and I go, man, I still got those 2 totes and 3 boxes that I've not so much stuff to unbox and whatnot. I've got a couple Mythic Legions I'm going to bring with me next week, though, to bring down to you, Terrence, this upcoming week from the Rising Suns wave there. That said, why don't we hit up the chat real quick?
Yeah, let's say hi to everybody.
I think that's what you're gonna yell at me about, right, Ed?
Yep, I wasn't gonna yell. Not this time.
No,
not today. So to start with, we got
that guy.
Next toy. Look at this. He's pulling double duty, saying hello, everyone. And we got Ian Mudhorn Station saying Mano. What's up, Ian? And of course, we have the big deal himself, the punk with toys, saying hello, fools.
Money.
And we got Dustin Game 441. What's up, Terrence? And we got this crazy dude, Mr. Wonderful. Hello, folks. Mm-hmm. And Corsair's Creations here saying, hey, guys, the Creative Drums are calling at ToyCon, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Collect the gadget. I guess that's how
it looks like. Collect the gadget. Yeah,
that's what I thought too. So this shit gonna be good. Thank you for stopping by, Allison Retro Toy Princess saying greetings, Allison. And the man himself, Jim Largo's here from Largo's Lair saying greetings. What's up, Jim?
That's a cool dude. That guy actually may have ordered something from me. So I have, and what's cool is I have the Shopify account, so I can see all over the map where my stuff's landing and where I've got orders for. And I just keep looking at it every day, oh, this is cool. Covered this state, covered that one. And then I have one in Guatemala, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. But it's going to Miami, right? before it gets to.
It went to Miami. Yes. Yes. Yep.
DJ 5000's here saying, gentlemen and lady, it's been a while. Good to see ToyLeet again. Good to see you again, brother.
There.
And I just lost my spot.
So I have a question though. When you guys send things to Miami to leave the country, do they really make use of those little cavities inside your Hexastacks for anything other than accessories?
You'll have to talk to my buddies that don't. I don't know if they work here.
Troy TD3 here. What's up, Troy? We got Ronnie Trickshot all the way from the other side of the globe saying, good day, legends. What's up, Ronnie? And Dustin's asking where he can order a Creative Realms t-shirt.
I can help him out with that.
And Brickster, Bricksum's here saying, late to the party. What's up, ToyLeet? Hey there, Gina and Terrence.
Hey, Brick.
Troy
he gave us a shout out on his last show. I was on his stream and he was shouting us out right before he wrapped up.
That's awesome. I was outside enjoying the 70-degree weather that we haven't seen in New York for a while, so I did not watch any YouTube today. Congratulations from Troy. That goes out to you, Travis. Good to see you up and running. And Collect saying, yeah, Hexastacks are definitely dope and needed. Glad to have seen them at Toylanta.
Awesome, thank you.
So I have to ask Collect a Gadget. When I'm reading that like it's a take on Inspector Gadget. Like, is it Collect a Gadget? Like,
I would say so.
That's how I took.
I just want to.
That's exactly how I took it.
That's what I'm getting when I read that. I just want to make sure I'm reading it right. That's all.
I read it the same way, and if I'm not, we're all in the same bucket together.
Love Inspector Gadget.
Same.
Corsair Creation saying Dark Water sounds like his type of people. Love the Pirates of Dark Water. Travis and I have talked about that many times. And
Yes,
Ray from Purple Gang throwing the hearts out there saying, hey, everybody.
Ray.
Thank you.
And this guy here, Mendoza, saying, what's up, all? Punk saying they use the storage for bringing stuff into the country, not taking it out.
Oh, good clarification.
We had it backwards.
Good point.
Sorry. And Collected Gadget saying, yes, it is, just like Inspector Gadget. Excellent.
Awesome.
Good channel name or handle, whatever you want to call it. Excellent. That's it for the chat, brother. Show's all yours.
Awesome. Let's jump over into the slideshow. I think everybody's visible, right? Yep, cool. I'm not locking anybody off. So tonight we're going to be pulling back the curtain a little bit in the indie toy space. We were originally going to have the topic about Ed and I building our own company, but the company's still a work in progress. And we also had the benefit of having Terrence and Gina come on before. They've got a couple more conventions coming up, and we want to give them the opportunity to talk about that and get in front of folks a little bit more. One that I will have the benefit of attending next weekend and hanging out with those folks at the Creative Realm booth. But we're going to be talking a little bit about that. But before we go there, we would normally be doing our shout out from the Crick in this space, but we don't have one this week because no one's doing anything cooler than what Creative Realms is doing and talking about in the main topic tonight. So we're going to go right into the weekly news, and normally I run this all by myself with a little bit of feedback from Ed on the Big Bad Workshop and some of those areas. So Terrence and Gina, you guys are a little bit closer to some of these companies. Some of them are the first time we're talking about them. So feel free to chime in if any of my content is wrong, or which it very well could be, or if it's lacking some content. Up first, we have a new one here, Ashenoth. I don't know a ton about this, but I know it's from the gentleman Burke. I can't.
So Brian Burke.
Yeah.
Brian Burke, thank you.
Yep. So Brian Burke's been a long time maker for Legion's parts in the Legion's community. And he started showing prototypes about this about a year ago. The campaign went live on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And it's about halfway through its funding goal right now. And it has about 17 days to go. I believe that you will start seeing Brian on a lot of streams. I believe he's going to be on Brick Something next Sunday. So, it's a very cool line, a lot of cool unlocks to come. So if you're not following it now, definitely go to Kickstarter and check it out.
Yeah, and just to add, like from my perspective, it's not really something that I would normally, be diving in on, but it's something that I thought looked really cool because it has some very detailed sculpts, very unique armor sets, and it looks like he's done a great job doing what I like to see in toy lines is have some sort of connected lore to it. And if you go right out to their website, you can find a little bit more about these folks, the different characters, which I thought was really cool. But awesome. Thank you, Terrence, for the additional content there. Up next, we got a little update from Almighty Legends. So Almighty Legends, we know they were a Kickstarter a while back. There was some changes and adjustments over the course of time. They eventually pivoted and partnered with Savage Crucible over at Harbinger Studios to leverage the bucks that they have instead of creating their own bucks. And you can see some pictures here. It's really a big production update showing that the figures are coming along. You can see in the totes they have the armor on some of the bucks, and I'm very pleased with this because I love the Savage Crucible bucks. They've done a great job with those, and it looks like they're getting closer to landing. I know that they're doing some wing tests. You can see that there with Who-Man's head and then his buck there in that like stylized image, but they've been doing some additional work there. They've also confirmed some additional armor packs and extra pieces added for the backers. So they're actually leveling up a little bit from what was originally promised with this. I assume, just as a in the know a little bit, that maybe some of the benefits from that are that they saved money on the tooling related to the build because they didn't have to create the bucks from scratch anymore. So maybe there was a little bit of margin they could adjust and give back to the consumer for the extended weight and whatnot, which is always good. But this looks to be a really cool line, leveraging some really cool bucks, and you can see that in the images here. I think, folks, if this looks anything like what I've seen already and what we've seen from Savage Crucible and the connection there, these are going to be good. So you should be seeing some things hit the water around the end of May, and we should be seeing some stuff, I would assume, sometime over the summer from folks on these, which will be great.
I think the customizers are going to love those. Customizers
absolutely.
Absolutely love those. I'm very excited for those wings.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really cool. I know that folks have been excited about the wings, I think, for the Legions and stuff, and doing some cross uses there. I think what I've seen a lot of is there's a desire to have the Savage Crucible bucks, like blank bucks. I hear it on a lot of folks ask for it in the chat on their live streams. So I feel like this is getting people kind of close to that, to have access to those bucks, maybe at a little lower price point than the normal ones. I don't know the exact pricing on these, but yeah, I can definitely see a ton of fun with these for sure.
Absolutely.
Big Bad Workshop. I just had a couple pictures here. I didn't catch too much news on this, Ed, so I'm going to throw it back to you. But there was a couple pictures from ToyLeet this past weekend or so ago, where they had the Tick product and IP on display, and they also had some additional of the Monster Force figures there on display. I think those are from an upcoming release. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Ed.
Yeah, that's stuff that's pre-ordered already for book 2, season 3, or whatever one we're on now. But that'll be the next release of Monster Force coming out.
That'll be the September, October probably time frame, correct?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's when they released the last wave, so I'm guessing that's when it'll be.
Awesome. Great. Then we had an update from Brutal Realm. I couldn't find the image I was looking for today, but I did grab a couple from their Kickstarter page. And right here, they kind of showed off these in-hand production samples. They're looking chunky, big and bulky as we, anticipated them to be. It's got, you can see the classic barbarian build. It's very, very heavily sculpted. And then what you can see is, some of them, the articulation within them. One of the things I will say, and you can kind of see it in the middle image there, is that shoulder is a little off to me. I'm not completely convinced that I'm going to be extremely ecstatic about these, but I'm going to wait until I get them in my hands. I know they've been putting a lot of work into adjustments, and I know that they're looking to try to get these out here as soon as they can. They did mention that they had a few tweaks coming for Cro-Magnon, Chetan, and Krieger. I keep mixing it up.
I don't know. The shoulder butterfly looks a little wonky, but it might just be the pictures. But Robo did say he played with them a little bit at ToyLeet and said they pose really well for how muscular these figures are designed. So it'll be interesting to see when they actually arrive with how they are and what the deal is.
Exactly, and it kind of reminds me back to some of the earlier Toy Biz Marvel Legends, where like they were first getting like that massive articulation into the figures, where you could see those like shoulder joints and things like that. But again, this may just be, the early models. Maybe they'll be adjusted a little bit. Maybe it won't be as bad, or maybe it was necessity due to the bulkiness of the model to continue to have some of that articulation.
I mean,
so
those
we'll
guys
see.
got some big chests, so it might be that way just for that reason.
Absolutely, we'll see what it looks like when we get it in hand, because I have an all-in of that at some point when they arrive. I think you might be a little bit closer to this next one, Ed. I'm not sure, because I know you're a big Cryptoid person, but these are the Cryptoids that they have. It's a newer Kickstarter, I think, or maybe it's not as new because I only caught it with 6 days left. But they've exceeded their goal, so it is being backed. They're just under 1,400 backers, but this is kind of like a mix of sci-fi, creature design.
This line is cool. I'm not in on this line, but it's Cryptoids Battle for the Green Planet, which is a cool concept. But this is like a true toy line, right? Like if you look at toys and how they're supposed to be fun, this is it right here. This is like old He-Man, old toys from the late 70s, early 80s. So it's a cool line.
Correct me if I'm wrong. It's from a YouTube. It's a YouTuber person.
Yeah, it's the team behind Toy Anxiety. Yes, have some. And so they're, if you know anything about their channel, I mean, they're into a lot of different toys, but they are heavily into Ghostbusters, and particularly the old Ghostbuster toys. So when I look at these, I definitely see some connected DNA with those old Ghostbuster type figures. And I don't mean that as a knock in any kind of way, but I think it takes a fun toy approach like Ed is talking about to the cryptid kind of concept. I'm a huge cryptid guy myself. I do think they've done some really, I think the whole line's really cool. It's not necessarily for me because of what I'm into, but I definitely like that they've done things like the Bat Boy, and they just revealed one of their unlocks was a Shadow Bigfoot, which kind of looks like more of like the classic 1967 Patterson Bigfoot. So I could see myself getting into like individual figures, maybe more so than the entire wave,
Yeah, that's where I'm at too, Terrence. It's definitely a pick and choose type of line, but the whole line is cool. Like the play factor or the fun factor of this line is just awesome.
Absolutely.
It definitely has that cartoonish toy look to me for sure. And it definitely pulled back. Like, I know you mentioned I think you said He-Man or something like that, right, Ed? I think to me, it makes me think of more of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like that's what it really makes me think of, is like they look like they could be the villains from the Turtles line to some degree when I was looking through it. Awesome. And then up we have, if I have my news correct, we have a couple updates from Four Horsemen. They nailed their Mythic Legions role-playing game. I think you can probably speak a little bit to this if you want, Terrence, because I know you were hosting some stuff at Legions Cons last year for this.
I did.
And playing in that space.
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough. I actually ran one of the role-playing sessions for them at Legions Con on Sunday. At Legions Con, huge campaign. I mean, they started off with a very low funding goal to get into it. But the overall goal was to unlock everything, was to get to $1.5 million, and they exceeded that by the time this was all said and done, which actually makes them, I believe, the number 3 largest, most successful action figure Kickstarter of all time, only beaten out by 2 previous McFarlane Spawn Kickstarters. And incredible amounts of, so many great figures here. I really look at this line and I see something that I don't really everyone's talking about, there's some really great low price entry figures, like $30 figures in this line. I almost think this is really a great opportunity for people who maybe haven't collected Mythic Legions in the past to get into it, because maybe they've had that mindset of, I don't know if I can really splurge on a $50, $60 figure. This is a great way to pick up a $30 Mythic Legion figure, get an appreciation for the sculpting, the paintwork on them. And then, again, they have these great $15 accessory sets where you can build a completely unique character out of that figure. So in the end, you end up spending $50 anyway. But the idea is that, it gives you the opportunity to do what you like with these figures. And they're bringing role playing, which is just going to bring a new element to the Mythic Legions community, and hopefully bring some role players into the action figure world, so there might be some crossover there. So I really hope to see a lot of people give the role-playing game a chance, as well as getting all these incredible figures. So I was very excited about this.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on. And I didn't back it just because of the situations I'm in right now.
Yeah.
It is something I would like to get. I'm not so much about, I already have tons of figures, right? So I can use all the figures that I have today, and it, based on the way it's done, I have my Savage, my He-Mans, I have the tons of different Four Horsemen figures that can be used for it. I will pick up the book at some point in the future once it's released. I'm very much so interested to see what happens next with this, because they haven't, I wouldn't say Mythic Legions has done anything where they've dropped the ball by any sense of the mean with any of their other releases and toys and whatnot. This is different frontier. This is a different playground they're playing in. I know I heard on some of the recent streams with Jeremy some of the things that they want to do and how it's going to move forward. I'm just interested to see how that progresses and see how strong that gaming community adapts to this, and how the toy and the miniatures, all of that plays together. So I'm very excited to see the progress, and I'm really excited about the what's next aspect of that.
Yeah, and I will just add one more caveat in this. Even though you missed out, maybe on the Kickstarter, you will have access to all these figures through, retailers now, and not at much of a jump on price. I think most of these figures are only about $5 difference versus the Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
So, there's nothing in regards to the figures, there's nothing that was exclusive to that I can recall. Most of the exclusives had to do with things like dice and maybe a pin, some of the aspects related to the role-playing game. So, I think if you're an action figure guy, you're not going to miss out on anything here. You can definitely get what you want.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good. That's a really smart way to take care of your legacy fans without making them feel like they had to be too committed right up off the front. They can pick them up at a reasonable price. So that's good. And that's cool. Awesome. And then they also went ahead and if you followed, they did, and I know you do, Terrence, but for others, they had recently released with Big Bad's what was it? Well, yeah, they had Stavros for one of their anniversaries. I don't remember which anniversary it was.
I think it was like 20th or 25th or something like that.
Okay, 25th anniversary. They released the big kind of dragon figure, like I don't know, troll size scale. I'm not good with the scales, but they had that, and now they have an army builder which has the same kind of deco coloring that you would have for that. You can configure it, a couple different heads. I think it's got a skeleton head, if I remember correctly. And then it's exclusive to Big Bad. I think it's $60, and it went on sale, I think, Friday. It's either last Friday or this Friday. My days all meshed together.
It's last Friday, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's on sale for pre-orders through Big Bad exclusively at $60 right now. And you can kind of pack just along with Stavros, however you pronounce the name that I'm horribly relating. That one. Yeah. And then they also gave us an update recently of some of the shipments coming. They've in motion. The Cosmic Legion Ox Crew has fully shipped from Store Horsemen, so collectors should start seeing those land at any day when this update came out. They also mentioned that Infinite Legion releases fade in. Are shipping as well with a street date locked in for May 1st. So these should be rolling out pretty fast. And then, looking ahead, Q2 is shaping up to with the Ashes of Agamemnon. I'm sorry, guys. It's late on a Sunday night.
And, don't make that excuse. You'd say it that way if it was the middle of the day. Let's not.
and then some legacies of Mythos figures on deck. So it's going to be a pretty. Go back to your point earlier, right? I think, Terrence, you said, where's all my stuff? Well, here it comes, right? So stuff is continuing to drop. Then, and you may have seen that. What was that?
I said, get your shelves ready.
Yeah.
Exactly. Get the shelves ready. If you need some stands, let me know. We'll take care of you. And then there was an update from El Dragon, not like a formal update that I have information to just yet, but they did show off kind of like a prototype sculpts here against some Marvel Legends and the Jada Street Fighter figures down at ToyLeet a couple weeks ago. I'm extremely excited about this. This is one that's right down my alley with the wrestling and all of that. So I'm extremely excited to see what these folks are doing. I do know they did some sort of panel. There was a bunch of information shared. My first question was, did you record it so I can see it? And they said no, but they were hoping to provide some more details to it. I haven't found that yet. So if anybody has that, send it my way. I need to know. I need to know. I need to know.
You know, you would think there'd be like a YouTuber or something involved with this line, you know, like Mega J Retro or something that he recorded
exactly.
that for posterity. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, it's funny that you say that because I believe if all things work out, I'll be on his show on Wednesday night talking about Hexastack. So
Nice.
I will bug him about El Dragoon also.
Yeah.
yeah, this is coming from him and Danny Green, and we
Yes.
actually got to spend a little bit of time with them at
Great.
Toylanta, and it looks like it's great. We actually saw the beginning of this last year at Toylanta, and it's progressed incredibly over the last 12 months. And you know, between the comic book art they have for it and these prototypes, I mean, I think that they're coming along really well. Can't wait to see it get produced.
Yeah, and I don't know if you caught the episode where we had those guys on. We actually had them on a while back to talk about this right after I found out about it last year at Toylanta. So we had them come on the show. I want to say probably in September, October of last year to talk about it. And we've talked a little bit since then. Definitely going to be talking again and getting them on the show to kind of cross promote this because it is definitely something that I'm a huge fan of and very, very excited for. So we'll definitely keep this one on our radar for sure. The next one up, I'm not even going to try to speak to this. I'm just actually going to pass the mic over to you, Terrence and Gina, because I think you guys might know a little bit more about this. And you don't have to go too much into details, but it's the first time I think we were actually showing it formally on the ToyLeet channel. So I wanted to just get a placeholder on our slide deck as I know things will be moving forward. But this is the Rise of the Fifth Sun, and just a couple screens here that I was able to go grab.
Absolutely. So Rise of the Fifth Sun is coming from the mind and sculpting of Jason the Demon Rodriguez, an incredible sculptor who's been doing stuff for Legions for quite some time. He just sculpts like every day. If you follow him on Instagram, you see new sculpts he's putting out. He's recently been doing more Dio stuff as well. But this line in particular, so far, these 5 figures have been shown. 4 of them being gods from the Aztec, lore, and then we have the Aztec warrior in the front right there, which is going to be like the army builder figure of the line. I currently have those 5 figures in my possession. I'll be bringing them to ToyCon New Jersey this next weekend. That Dio is incredible, as far as I understand it. And I might be slightly wrong about this, but I believe that for backers of the all-ins, they may get access to an STL file to be able to print that Dio. So I think that's the plan currently. Now, of course, awesome. This one is painted up and decoed out, incredibly. But, just having it, I had the Dio for a little longer than I had the figures. And, your mind goes different places of wanting to take you out an Indiana Jones figure or a Lara Croft or, my skeletons from my graveyard, skeletons from Legions, and just take pictures with this because it's such an incredible Dio. Obviously, it's meant for these figures, but, when you're a toy guy, you can kind of envision different scenarios with these. And but these figures, though, they were stopping people in their tracks at Toylanta, and I expect the same at ToyCon New Jersey. People hadn't seen them before, and they wanted to know all about them. So, I right now I feel like I'd butcher most of the names of these characters, but they are incredible, and I've been learning more about the culture because I've wanted to know more about them. So they are fantastic.
I am really looking forward to this Kickstarter because I love the Aztec history. So.
Yeah.
Whenever my wife and I, go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say one little thing I will say is that one of the probably coolest things that happened while we were at Toylanta is that, a couple comes over, and I totally expect the guy to be into this because it's action figures and whatever. So my chauvinistic mindset, unfortunately. But it ended up being the lady was a school teacher, and apparently she teaches world cultures. And she went in, she knew all the names inside and out. Her pronunciation was incredible. And she came back about 3 times, and she's like, when can I get these? I need to have these in my classroom. And
that's awesome.
And so that's just like a unique, situation you have. And so many people came up that, are from, the Latin community, and they were so proud to see these potentially coming to, fruition. And I think, that's something, whenever we see something new coming in, and we've seen it already before with Ganesha and other characters that have been brought to us through Figura Obscura, it's just great to see more representation. Obviously, I think we all grew up with Roman and Greek mythology, but to see these other world cultures explored, I think is just something special.
Absolutely. And I think were you going to say something, or did you cover it already?
No, I'm just saying I'm excited for it because I love the Aztec culture.
And
when my wife and I have done. Oh, go Gina, go for it. Yes, please.
For anybody who hasn't seen these yet, go check out their website. Go check out their Instagram, because there are some painted prototypes out there that are, the colors are just gorgeous. They're exactly what you would expect of a line of this caliber. But it's just these prototypes are amazing and they're beautiful, but seeing them painted is totally next level. They're gorgeous.
What she said.
Have they?
100%. I've seen some of those.
Have they talked about when they're going to do the Kickstarter yet, roughly?
So my understanding right now is originally they were going to look at May, but obviously we knowing that Tide Realm Corsairs is happening in May as well, and then both being number one, I think there's a healthy amount of respect between both Kickstarters, and they're both being produced through Four Horsemen. It just made sense that we would basically have this line is going already. Tide Realms had already claimed May for May 1st. However, I think the way we're setting this up right now, or I should say Jason's setting this up, is Jason Rodriguez. He's going to aim to have the landing page up on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, to get this up. And then throughout May, it'll be kind of the runway so that in June, we can go live with this Kickstarter. You know what I mean? So,
Awesome.
So get ready for this one in June. That's the goal that I've been hearing so far.
Excellent.
That's exciting. So I didn't realize these are also mythic Four Horsemen sculpted. So is it going to be similar?
Wait, I just want to clarify that. That's important. So these are not sculpted by Four Horsemen. This is all sculpted by Jason Rodriguez, but Four Horsemen's helping with the production end of it, basically making sure they have access to the factories and stuff like that.
Okay,
so awesome. I definitely don't want, because this is Jason Rodriguez has a very unique sculpting, and these are all from his mind and his hand. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
No, that's great. Thank you for that call out. I appreciate that.
Rick,
I look at this and
he wanted to hear you pronounce the Mexican Mexica Aztec names.
No, he didn't. I'd get canceled or something, and I wouldn't even do anything. I wouldn't even be doing anything wrong, and I'd get canceled. Guys, come on. That's not even fair. That said, I have, and Ed, you've seen it before, and it's on my shelf over there. I have a display that I picked up at a local toy show that has that circular Mayan temple thing. So when I saw this, I was like, oh wow, I would expand that. And they're perfect for the savages, and kind of if you're doing any kind of dial this, I could see so much use with that if they release that as an option, either as an STL or a purchase, whatever it might be. But I haven't backed a Kickstarter since Brutal Realm, I think, is the last one that I backed. And I haven't made a lot of purchases, but this is one, along with Tide Realm. Those are the two that have my attention right now very, very heavily. Yeah. These look great. I look at the articulation. I know there's a little it looks like they got double knees, and they've got the swivel waist, and it's I'm really excited. Have you seen these next to your Savages, Terrence? Do they scale well?
They do. So these, I would say these are on par. These are going to basically be very adjacent, to Mythic Legions and Savage Crucible. So you're not going to have a problem feeling that they are dwarfed or they're out of size with them. So they'll fit in perfectly. Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's exciting for someone like myself who's very particular about those things. Very excited for this line, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it as we go through tonight.
I'm excited to see you get to see them in person next weekend.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see you see them in person.
I'm very excited. I've had to warn Son of Wonder that there may be some things at the booth that he cannot touch. Do not touch them to touch them.
Well, it was funny.
He's like, okay, Dad. He's like,
next week, when Travis tries to pronounce those names, you have to record it for me, Gina.
Okay, you got it. But yeah, no, when we were at Toyland, so there was somebody who was like, can I touch? And I was like, I'm not even allowed to touch those.
That's awesome. While Terrence is going off camera for a second, I'm going to go ahead and go up to the next one, which just so happens to be Savage Crucible. Nothing crazy out of here. There's a lot going on their streams. They've been having a few of them. There was like they were promoting a tabletop game. I don't know all the details on it. I only caught it briefly, but they've got a lot going on. They mentioned that they're going to be at Ed, you say it.
Motuniverse.
Motuniverse.
I want to say Motu Universe, but no, it's Motuniverse. So they'll be in attendance for this. They just announced this the last few days or so. So they'll be in attendance for that in May. And then they also announced that they will. They'll be confirmed. They've confirmed that there's a larger shipment of some of the exclusive they've been releasing at the recent conventions that will be popping up with their retailers. So the retailers are getting a first crack at these. So if you're looking for these, I think the pre-orders went out the other day, and then there'll be some direct.
I saw Nerdzoic had them up for pre-order. I didn't.
That's what I thought.
I don't know about Big Bad.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I will.
Yes, and then the direct releases are coming in June. These are really cool, so you will have the opportunity to start purchasing those if you haven't already. And they've been talking a ton on their shows. I believe they are, and I didn't create a screen or a note on it specifically because I wasn't factual on everything, but I think Rob mentioned the next IP, the next IP is supposed to be this summer. At some point, they'll be announcing that Savage is getting access to. But they also, and Ed and I were kind of like side chatting about this, like what could the next line be? Because they also recently mentioned something about another line. So we know we get collegiate, the collegiate players, the whatever it is, the college football players from them. We know we also get the Savage Crucible line from them. But there's supposed to be some third line that's coming at some point. I assume in the near future we'll hear more about that. And I know there was a ton of clues on their show recently from the last couple weeks, so you may want to check that out if you're interested to get a deeper dive on. And I'll be keeping my eye on those for sure. Is there something Terrence wanted to show, Gina?
Yes.
So at ToyCon New Jersey, I'll also be able to show an articulated model from Rise of the Fifth Son. So this is not a finished model, but it is an articulated model. So it has all the posability and whatnot. So this will be the first time at a show where it'll be visible and people can check it out. And we can show, all the different articulation that this figure will have. So this is a 3D printed model.
Foot.
So again, it's not a finished model yet, but this is a articulated model. And we'll be able to showcase it at the show, and you'll be able to actually check this out yourself. So, and we will, cool. Chances are with your Hexastacks display, we'll probably have some from Savage Crucible there, so you can actually check it out side by side.
Sweet, that'll be great. Definitely bringing some of my stuff down. I'm figuring out what I'm bringing on display this week. I'm trying to figure out what I want to really show off, and it'll be independent toys and maybe one wrestling set of toys because that's what I geek out. But up next, we've got a couple more news items here, but one of them is another one that I'm not going to act like I know a lot about. I'm going to leave this to Terrence and Gina. But we have Tyrell Corsairs. They did announce that they got their factory quotes in. I want to say a couple days ago, maybe a week ago. This came out, and then they're going to be moving the project forward with the plan for the May 1st launch. I also know that they're doing that kind of co-launch with the online, with the YouTube lore dive in, which is extremely exciting for me. And that's kind of all of this connection here, where they're trying to get into 1,000 followers. I think you'll talk more about this maybe now, Terrence, or even later, if you want to speak to this.
Sure. So, Quaid and I met at Legion's Con last year, and I'd already seen him do a couple of some streams where he had talked about the fact that, he was working with Four Horsemen, but that, they were a young couple in Wyoming, didn't, really see themselves having the opportunity to go to a lot of conventions and stuff like that. And being somebody who's been involved with indie toys and toys in general, and I think it's pretty well known that I go to a lot of conventions.
You do?
Yeah, me. Me and my wagon typically. Yeah. But I basically, as I was listening to going, these guys are going to need to go to some conventions or get those products out in front of people. And being part of a small but vocal minority group that me and Ed both belong to, where we want pirates and we want cowboys. I basically said to Gina, I was like, I've been thinking about this. And she, before I could even finish it, she was like, you want to take those to conventions? I'm like, yes. So I reached out to Quaid and I was just like, hey, listen, I have this idea. I know you don't know who I am. I said, but I think if you do some reference checks on me, you'll find out that I'm not a crook. I want to basically help you out. And so we started from that point forward, and we picked up steam. And that's probably around the time I started talking to Travis, because I wanted to put together a bigger plan, and we've been in the process of opening up a toy store for a while. And I just envisioned kind of a curated table of basically being able to bring Creative Realms to conventions and basically put a spotlight on projects I think that needed help. Now, let's focus on this a little bit. Tide Realm Corsairs was produced, through Four Horsemen. They did all the sculpting on it. It all came from the mind as far as the storylines of Abigail and Quaid Cundall. And but after that, it was kind of like the figures were made, and then it was kind of up to them to kind of figure out how are they going to get it in front of an audience? How are they going to connect to collectors? And that's a big challenge. I mean, I know Travis has gone the Kickstarter route before. Having an idea and then putting it on Kickstarter does not guarantee success. You have to kind of grind for it. You have to get out there and be on all these live streams. You have to get out to conventions, get it in front of people. And to get that kind of, people going, yeah, this is something I want. This is something I see on my shelves at my house, that, something I'm not finding elsewhere. It's going to scratch that proverbial itch. And so, that's where it began. So we started off, we went to ZoloCon about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And that we didn't have a booth for, but there was a crazy person dressed as a pirate running around all over the convention.
Can't imagine who that might have been.
So handing out.
Gina, you should have done that.
It's not nice to call Gina crazy, Terrence.
So anyway, but that's where it started. Now we've gone to ToyLeet, where I think we had an incredible response. I mean, we had such a great situation. We were set up directly across from Skeletron and from Four Horsemen Studios. We were pretty much in the Times Square section of ToyLeet,
yes, thank you, Brett Barton, for that.
So he gave us a great piece of real estate there. And, we had a lot of folks from the Horsemen over at our booth throughout the weekend. And just, I mean, every notable toy tuber who was at ToyLeet was at our booth to talk to us, to film the figures. We had Big Dub, and we had Robo, and we had JB's Toy Trunk, and all these guys come over, talk to us, do some filming. And the consensus was either they wanted pirates before they came over to the table, or they suddenly said, I need to have these pirates. Awesome. The other thing that we heard from a lot of people was that they were more impressed by seeing the painted models in front of them. They thought the paint showed up better in person than they had in photos.
That's great.
Yeah, so, I was just about to say that. Like, again, the photos that we've seen have been amazing, but seeing them in person, you see the life to them. Like the paint job is just amazing. Eric and Sherry did just a great job with those.
One little small story there, because I think it's funny, is that so we had one gentleman who came over to the table and he's looking at the figures really intensely, particularly Captain Deathmoid, the skeleton captain there. And so he's looking at it, he's like, yeah, I think these were made by, these look like they were painted by Savage Crucible. And I'm like, well, it's kind of funny you should say that, because the gentleman who painted them used to work for Savage Crucible, and now he works for Four Horsemen. And right behind him is Eric Miller standing there, who is the painter, and I'm like, Eric, introduce yourself. So they had a moment to talk, and, very friendly conversation, but it was just funny to see this guy point out that he could see kind of, the fingerprint, if you will. But so we just recently crossed 900 followers, for the Kickstarter. So I think things look really promising, but awesome. Again, I never want to say that, we've got a clear shot, you know what I mean? Because you don't know if followers equal success. So if you're watching this now, please go check out the Kickstarter, get on board. If it's not something you're going to support, at least help us get the word out. I think, you know what I mean? That's always helpful.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely, and help me get my pirates. It's not
yeah,
Pirates of the Dark Water, but I'll take it. It's as close as I can get.
that's right. And we have, and you haven't
specifically-
seen everything yet. I can
Right.
just tell you there's a lot more coming. We announced the same day as we started Toylanta that we announced that there were going to be crew builders for each of these guys. So
I did see that.
so that's coming as well. And I'll just
Awesome.
tease that there's more to come. You know what I mean? You haven't
Right.
seen everything yet. So
And
That's
I'll
awesome.
say all the time, I'm not selfless. I want the girl pirate they showed us pictures of, and she will be wave 2 as long as wave 1 funds. So we need
That's
this
awesome.
one to go so that we can get wave 2 so I can get my girl pirate.
That's awesome. And one of the things I want to echo right here in the news is that ToyCon New Jersey, Creative Realms is going to be there presenting Tide Realm figures and these models, right? You'll have those in hand, correct?
Yeah.
So not only will you be able to see Rise of the Fifth Sun, you'll have an opportunity to see Tide Realm Corsair. You'll see some of these, some of the, are they early prototypes? Is that accurate?
yeah,
Awesome.
we'll have both these prototypes, and we'll have the prototypes from Rise of the Fifth Sun as well. So they'll both be on display, similar to how they were at Toylanta. You know, we will have probably some more information on some things in both Kickstarters. So and in addition, obviously, we'll have some great collaborators such as the Hexastack display system. We'll also have Billy Beige's accessories for Mythic Legions. And we'll have some great figure heads, some from Wolf King Customs, and some brand new ones that we just got from Jason Rodriguez, the sculptor behind Rise of the Fifth Sun. So we're very excited to bring those to the public.
Good deal. Good deal. And then we just have a quick update from Valaverse. Nothing crazy here, but they did have their some additional photos since we've been back with the boat here, which I think is going to be, and I think Ed, you and I have talked about this. I think it's likely going to be tied to the Black Series now. I don't know if that's been officially confirmed or not, but it makes total sense. And then you also have an early preview of the Vane figure that is crafted after. I can't think of his name, but the actor from the show that I still have yet to watch, Black Sails, I think is what it is. Valaverse is working on getting the Black Series out, and I expect this one to be hitting soon from the sounds of it. But you got a little preview there. That's it for the news this week. Ed, I know that there's probably been a ton of comments and whatnot. So before we jump into the main topic and dive into Creative Realms even deeper, do you want to hit up the chat real quick?
Yep. I lost my place, so you'll have to bear with me for a second. So we have Dan DiBiase was with us anyway. I don't know if Dan's still here, but what's up, Dan? Dan does some awesome action figure photography. Let's see. We got Brick saying Brian's coming back to the news next Sunday. Ash and Oath doing some great things to make Armored Knights move really, really well. And yeah, Brian's got a clear vision for the world and the lore. So there you go. Now you're going to have to get into it, Travis. It's dark fantasy. It fits right in with the rest of your stuff.
Right.
Action Joe Figs is here. What's up, Kaz? And Corsair Grace is saying, Quaid saying Brian is a fan favorite. We love what he's doing. Where's the next one? Quaid saying, completely agree with Terrence on the RPG game. Talk about lore, Travis. You'll love the stories and mythos that this pulls from. I'm not sure which part of it he's talking about.
I think he's talking about the Rise of the Fifth Sun.
Rise of the Fifth Sun.
Yeah.
And Brick says the teacher sounds like his kind of people. The one that Gene was mentioning. Brick, of course, talking about Jason Rodriguez and how he's awesome. And we got Matthew Matson here with us saying Eric of Melnibone is on his way. That's one of Matthew's most anticipated.
Elric. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes, Elric is on the way. I did see that recently.
And Punk saying Motuna verse sounds kind of smelly. And the Savage Crucible pre-orders for those con exclusives are sold out on BBTS. Brian from Endless Fables is here saying, I'm here, laugh out loud. What's up, Brian? Good to see you. Quaid saying, I can't show up. Terrence has been an answered prayer for exposure. Him and Gina have been so good to us. That's because Gina and Terrence are awesome people.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And Dustin saying, okay, female pirate would be awesome. He's all in.
So we need wave 1 to fun before we can get to wave 2.
I just hope she has good booty.
And Gina is going to like the audiobook. Oh, they're doing an audiobook. I'm excited now.
That'll
So
be good.
Quaid actually has a background in doing audiobooks, and he's been working tirelessly. I think in the time he's had working on this, this actually comes from the fact that Abigail has been writing most of the lore for these characters. And then Quaid, being a person who's done some voice work in the past, he actually sat down and has been recording. I think their plan, and he can correct us if we're wrong, I think the plan is to release some of the audiobook every day that during the month of May during the Kickstarter. So it'll be something fun to follow along with,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Be awesome to listen to it that way too. Chapter or whatever every day. Yeah.
And look at this dude. Oh, never mind. Yeah, that one.
Man, don't be jumping in on me, bro.
Sorry, Dad.
You know your role. Man. Kids these days.
Awesome.
Brian was saying, I gotta crash. I'll catch the replay. All right, Brian, have a good night, brother.
Take it easy, man.
And Brian made us some amazing flags, by the way, at Toyland.
Yeah.
If you saw the photos, he makes flags for AWOC, but he made flags for us for Tide Realms, and they were incredible. So it'd be great to see more of those in the future.
Yeah, Brian does some awesome looking flags for sure. Yeah. AJF saying would have loved to see those pirates. Will they be at DFW?
We don't currently have a plan for DFW. I feel like DFW in the past has always run the same weekend as something else that I'm usually at. But we would love to eventually. When we get in more to Creative Realms a little bit later, I'll talk a little bit about that as far as future plans.
And
awesome.
Now go ahead, Travis.
And Mega J Retro joining us, saying that he saw these gems and they're incredible. Pirate figures are cool too. And speaking of Mega J, we're going to be syncing up this week, so keep a lookout for that as he and I will be jumping on a stream together over on his channel.
All right. That's the end of the chat, brother.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go into the topic again. Tonight we're going to be focusing on Creative Realms, talking with Gina and Terrence about what Creative Realms is, right? So we're talking about more than just toys. We're talking about a business, not one that Ed and I have created like we were originally planning for tonight. We got way better guests that are actually doing something. So we're going to go ahead and talk to them a little bit about it. Ed, you've seen a lot of Kickstarters since you and I have connected, and maybe even before. And oftentimes they don't necessarily get the attention, that you need. Heck, I can say Hexastack really struggled. I was out there hustling as much as I could with many people as I can, and Mega J, I'll tell you, I was dropping the ball, not putting videos together and things like that, and I was definitely, lessons learned with that approach. What have you seen, lacking in that space for really, a new entity kind of spring something up into the, into life?
I would say exactly. I agree 100% with what you said. Like a lot of new toy IPs and things that people are coming out with that don't have, some kind of already established thing like Spiro did, theirs. And of course, Mythic Legions was very successful with theirs. These new people, they just don't get the exposure, and just going on live streams, really isn't enough. I mean, look at, Adam and Arlen with their, Space Zombies from Mars, right? I mean, that was a cool line, but it just didn't get the push that it could have that it needed, because they were really only at 1 or 2 cons, and then they did a bunch of live streams. But live streams just don't have that same push. It helps, but it's not enough.
They also had one more problem though. It was a big giant problem.
Well, yes, yeah, they had a fire breathing problem that was going on. But I'm just using that as an example that, like if you looked at the push they were getting outside of being on some YouTube live streams, they weren't out at all these cons getting promoted and getting seen, in front of people where they can really see them. Because like Gina said a couple of times about like the Rise of the Fifth Sons and the Corsairs, seeing them in person with the painted samples and stuff like that gives you a much better appreciation for what you're actually going to get than you actually can tell in pictures. And it doesn't matter how good your pictures are; they'll never do the figure justice.
And using the example that you spoke to, Ed, right, is that they had Arlen, who was a very well known commodity in the design space, and across a ton of toys that you and I collect, and then I'm sure many people listen to the stream today. So it definitely impacts things based on how you present that. With that, I'm going to transition over to the question for you, Terrence and Gina. If this is the first time folks are listening and hearing a little bit about Creative Realms, what exactly do you guys do? I know I've been hyping you up for the last hour about all the things that you guys do, but that was more of abstract. Let us know what you guys do.
I think when it comes to Creative Realms, the biggest thing that we do is we're trying to connect creators to collectors. We're taking someone who has an idea, and it could come from a couple different places. What I find most often is we started this off with Quaid and Tide Realm Corsairs, but it seems to me a much bigger issue for a lot of these indie toy companies that they saw a need, and we've actually gotten a lot of contacts from people saying, "Hey, can you help us too?" And it's a little, it can be a little overwhelming, but it's also very exciting too to see that there is this need out there, and it's turning into a business for us. But really, what it's come down to is folks needing someone to help get their idea out there to the general public and needing to go to conventions. We already are doing that, so it's a very familiar space for us. Both Gina and I come from a background where we've worked with public speaking and marketing and sales. So I think it just comes natural to us to say, hey, how can I take your idea and get it out in front of people and trying to give you the best chance at possibly picking up a larger audience for it, To your point, I was a huge supporter of Space Zombies from Mars. Because I just love zombies. I'm a big Resident Evil game fanatic. And I love Adam. Adam's a good friend. And, but again, timing, and that's part of it too. Part of what we do is, depending on who we're working with, our involvement can change. So I would say with Tide Realm Corsairs, I feel like I'm in daily conversations with Quaid. Him being, a newer person to the community, as far as, he's been a long time toy collector, but getting into this space, helping him with navigating the Kickstarter, helping put him in connection with some people that can help him out. Like Adam's been part of that as well. Adam's jumped in and given some advice here and there, which, just shout out to Spiro, Jason, and Adam. Always glad to help out other people. One of the best things about this is just how many Kickstarters are open to helping other Kickstarters. Ones who've been successful are not, gatekeeping. They're not sitting there saying, hey, we made it, go figure it out on your own. They're very often willing to share, the ups and downs they've learned in the Kickstarter process, the backer kit process, what the mistakes they've made, so you can avoid some of those pitfalls. But to answer the original question is that we basically talk to these folks, find out what their idea is, figure out if it makes sense for us to help them, figuring out what their timeline is as far as when are they looking to go live with this. Some cases advising them why that may or may not be a great idea, and then working with them to get them out to as many shows as possible.
That's awesome. And one of the things you said, I guess two things, right? You mentioned that you're talking to, Quaid Daly, right, over there. Mm-hmm. I feel bad. I'm sorry. I imagine that when he, if he's talking to you every day and I'm messaging you 6, 7, 8 times a day, you must be, your phone is blowing up constantly. So I do apologize for my burden.
Not at all.
Never appreciate your help.
No. I think, the thing is, I tend to be, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, I'm an idea machine. I just constantly I'm constantly percolating ideas. So I find it very rewarding, and also kind of I needed to vent in a way. People can reach out to me and I see their situation, and then I'm not saying every idea I have is great, but I try to put the ideas out there and see if it can maybe help, you or Quaid or whomever. I advise where I can, consult where I can. And I don't know if I'd know how not to do that if I tried, but so Gina looks over at me all the time if the phone buzzes and she's like, who's that? And I'm like, it's Travis, or it's Quaid, or it's Billy, or
Sorry.
it's whoever, you know, and it's great. You know, we love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And actually, and I didn't even give you credit. I will also say, right, you know, you mentioned what you guys do, and it's consulting, right? And when we were talking, one of the things when I was getting ready to bring it to production, you had mentioned, what about doing this thing, right? And I didn't understand exactly what you were suggesting, you know, as you wanted it at first, but the idea that you had, again, took me out of the, you know, center focused and opened me up to the peripherals, and that resulted in me immediately changing a portion of my product from having, you know, the plugs that came in and out of things from being hexagon, which limited the way they could go into the stand, to using circles so that they could spin and would allow you to have 360 degrees of posability in the direction you wanted for those figures in the stand, which will allow for, you know, just more unique display options. And that was something that for 3 years I didn't even think of. It wasn't something that even popped into my mind to switch it. So when you mentioned, you know, your idea, like, it wasn't exactly the idea you gave me, but it was a, you know, it triggered that opportunity for me to relook at how I had been doing something, which so incredibly happy with it. Like, my daughter was down here the other day on the other side of this wall here, and she was looking at it. She's like, "Oh, these things actually work, Dad." And I'm like, "You little jerk." My daughter's 17. My daughter's not a little kid. She's 17. She's like, "These are really cool. They actually work." I'm like, "No, I've been telling you this story for 3 years, like, you jerk." But one of the things that was really cool is she was able to kind of move it and spin it, and that's because of, you know, what you're doing, right? And that's just that's one little thing you've done for me. And I say little, I mean, it's actually a massive change, which I was really happy with. But it's like one thing you were able to do in that role. I recommend, you know, if you're bouncing an idea around, definitely, I think,
And that's
you
one
provide a
idea.
ton of opportunity.
Right. One idea leads to another idea, leads to another idea, leads to another idea. And again, you might end up with something completely different from the original thing, but it's so fun to get to watch it morph.
Yeah.
Travis doesn't know this, but I paid his daughter $20 to say that. So.
She actually told me that. She said, "Punk's picking it up for me next week." So thanks, bud. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go to the next piece, right? And this is really kind of, you know, for people that don't know, right? You know, the Kickstarter is not just about making toys, right? It's not. If it was that simple, so many more people would do it. And because of that, there's a lot that goes behind it. You've kind of already talked about it a little bit, Ed, right? This kind of feels like, you know, it replaces like the old way of doing things a little bit, right? You know, you don't necessarily have to go out and hire a, you know, large marketing firm, or, you know, you're not door-to-door salesman, but you're leveraging someone like Creative Realms to come in and represent you, you know, for me. And I'll use the example of me. And I don't know Quaid's and Tide Realms specific, you know, circumstances, but this year's a little bit different for me. My daughter's graduating high school, so there's a lot of activities going on. I wanted to get out to more cons this year, especially with my product, like, being, you know, finalized or ready to go to market, you know, so much more than it had in the past, but I wasn't able to. With Creative Realms able to step up and do that, you know, that's tremendous. Like, what do you think from that angle, Ed? Like,
well, you know, like, there's a lot of people that are turning to, you know, major companies turning to influencers and people on the internet to do their marketing, because it's just a lot cheaper to go that route. But even with, you know, social media presence and YouTube and all that stuff, it's still not enough when you're talking about an actual physical product. Having somebody like Gina and Terrence who also, like, you know, I've seen Terrence and Gina a couple times at Joe Fest and back at PowerCon, and, you know, on Clubhouse all the time, and they are very well appreciated people in the community for, you know, for always being positive and always being uplifting and always promoting everybody's stuff and helping people get the stuff that they can't get to at the cons and stuff like that, you know. So they have a very good, you know, like Terrence made the comment about how he said, have, you know, check my references. I don't know anybody that would say a bad thing about Terrence or Gina in this community at all. So if they do, we'll have to take care of them outside or something. I'll handle
absolutely.
I'll handle that for you, Terrence.
Got it.
Absolutely.
But
and before I ask, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Having the physical product available at the shows, like I was saying back when the first question, right? It's a different type. Like it's different to see it in person, right? Like Gina was saying, and Terrence was saying, at Toylanta, there's people that left the booth going, okay, I do want pirates in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I think that's a huge thing, and one of the things you mentioned, and just kind of how you framed up what Creative Realms does, and I meant to do this on the previous slide, is as this person who has a Kickstarter, and Quade's probably seeing this, and anyone who's done a Kickstarter before, you're going to get hit with all these obnoxious emails that are like, oh, hey, I can guarantee your success. Well, I can't check those references, but with Terrence, he's in the community, he's in the space that we play. He already has established connections with so many individuals, and in Eugenia too. I'm sorry, I don't mean to just say Terrence, but Creative Realms as a collective has that trust, right? So I think that's a tremendous benefit when looking for a partner that can represent you, and that you're going to be represented with the utmost integrity. You're going to be represented with a positive atmosphere. You're not worried about, oh, my brand is in front of them, they're telling everybody about my brand, is it going to be okay, right? Like, because that's your baby,
right?
You guys to do right by them.
In businesses that I've done marketing for myself, a lot of times companies would just hire random people that have no idea about the product or the market or whatever at all.
Check out your local Costco.
Right. They're just promoting a product because they promote a product. On the side of Gina and Terrence, they're both very much in love with action figure collecting and, all that stuff too. So it adds another component to them out there pushing their product for you, because I know Terrence isn't going to just grab some random product that's garbage and try getting people to buy it because,
because I'm putting my name on the line too.
Right,
What I mean? Like, and that's the thing. We don't take everybody. There have been a couple of lines that have approached us that, and I won't say that they were garbage. That's not necessarily what I would say, but I'll give you one example without getting into the details of what the product was. But, an action figure line that's currently in production or currently in the process of getting produced, I think they have an interesting look, but the person couldn't tell me much about they couldn't articulate what their line was, and I basically said to them, because I had some ideas based upon what I was looking at, but I wanted them to tell me the story behind it. And I do think they had a story, but it wasn't one that I could articulate to an audience, and as a result, if we can't be on the same page, and it wasn't a conflict, it was kind of like, hey, listen, you're going to need more time to develop this. And when you get there, let's talk again, but I don't see this happening in the next 30 to 60, 90 days. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be something where, number one, you need more awareness within the community, and you need to have a story that you're going to, bring to audiences that people are going to gravitate towards. I can help with a certain aspect of that, but if it's your line and you created it, you have to have something to start off with. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just one example.
No, that's great. And, we've kind of talked about a bunch of it, but I want to just straight ask the question to both you and Gina, is that, why do creators actually need something like Creative Realms today, now more than they ever needed it before?
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, your case alone and Quaid and Abigail, like, there's so many conventions and you can't get to them all. Like, you need people to help you get there, because you can't always, and especially as the creator of the line, you've got other responsibilities. You can't stop everything always to go sit an entire weekend at a convention. And like, it's very important to get those figures out in front of people, because seeing them is so different in person versus online. The other thing is, some of the creators that have reached out to us are like, hey, I'm not comfortable speaking in front of people. And we have the gift of gab. Like, we have the gift of gab.
I might be a little chatty.
It's a little bit. But so again, for us to get out there and talk about your toy line, that's easy for us. Now, I will tell you, last year at IshCon, I could not stay at the Legion's Ladies table because my figures were there on display, and I couldn't be there when people saw my figures. But I can talk about anybody else's figures, but I couldn't. Tanya laughs because she's like, "You like ran," and I was like, "Yes, I did." But I can talk about other people's figures. So I think that's where we come in. We come in to be able to be the spokesperson for you on your behalf. And, we always check with our creators to make sure what it is that you want us to verbalize about your figures, about your line. Like, what is the point that you would like for us to make besides, hey, buy my figures?
Right.
But there's always a story behind the figures or behind the product, or and if we can provide that story to people and help bring it to light, like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's rewarding.
There's definitely I would say the three biggest things that we've heard from most people is the lack of time that they have to be at these shows. They're, maybe I don't want to say socially awkward, but maybe they just aren't, prepared to actually, deal with the in-person aspects of peopling and hearing the feedback from people. They might be the kind of people that get defensive or take criticism not great. You know what I mean? Like, whereas we can act as a filter or a buffer in some ways, and deliver that information where it can be dealt with constructively. And then, of course, it's folks that have a lot of responsibilities. Maybe you do have a teenage daughter who's going through, college, or you have your own jobs won't let you get out on a Friday when you have to be at a con for setup, and you have a full weekend of stuff to do. So in those three elements, and the cost, there's definitely a cost to all these things, and I think that's one of the things as a model, what we've done is by putting multiple things into the booth as a curated platform, it kind of makes that so it's not one indie creator going to a table and going, hey, listen, I'm going to drop $250 to $500 on a booth for the weekend and hope people care. You know what I mean? Like, by doing it a mix and match, especially Kickstarters, because Kickstarters, there's not typically something to sell up front. There's no money coming in until the Kickstarter goes live. And even then, I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize is that typically the creator isn't making money right away. That's all going right into production, like when Quaid and Abigail, as an example, go through this process, most of that money will go to producing this first wave. And then hopefully if there's anything left over, that'll go towards, producing wave 2. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't want to get into the habit where you're doing a Kickstarter every time you want to produce a new figure for new tooling. You want to get to the point where it's successful enough that it can start creating like its own propulsion,
Snowball. Snowball.
Yeah. So pick up retailers and things like that, after the fact. And, being able to take these figures that are produced from wave 1 to shows going in the future, and I haven't, I've built a model for that myself, but, how I hope this works out for Quaid and other Kickstarters that we will work with. But I think that it's a matter of having that mixture, having folks like yourself and Billy Beige and Wolf King Customs, having product there that we can sell at the table gives people a reason to come up to the table for those products, or vice versa. They come up to see the Kickstarter stuff and then end up buying something because they didn't even know there was a Hexastack product there, or Wolf King Customs head, which we definitely saw this happening at ToyLanta. So, it creates a lot of crossover there. And I think it's great to see these small projects working together to propel all of them. It's the whole rising tide, no pun intended there. But rising tide raise all ships, you know what I mean? So
it was a good pun. It was a good pun.
Yeah, and I think one of the things when we first talked back in late, 2025, Terrence, about the idea behind Creative Realms and this tour of curated, creator driven entities, I think right off the bat I was like, this is a great idea. Like, this is awesome. Like, you being able to do this, it's going to offset things for you. It allows you to build your brand, but like, it's bringing so many brands together and in a community that can at times be divided. It's awesome to see that, and I kudos you up and down for it, because it's it's a gap that needed to be filled. And I can't think of a better person or persons to be leading the charge with that. So
I
a great
definitely
idea. I love it.
I think one of the things too that helps in a way is the fact that, like you were saying earlier about, who the right people are as far as getting somebody to be a representative. I think one of the things that definitely puts us in a unique spot is we've had such a great relationship with some of these toy companies. I've been, blessed to work with Four Horsemen Studios on Thousand Swigs, for the last several years. I feel confident that I can say I'm pretty good friends with everybody over at Spiro, and I enjoy talking to the guys over at Savage Crucible at every con I go to, you know what I mean? So it's nice to have these exchanges with these companies to the point where, and beyond that, all the toy tubers, again, I've been on and off Clubhouse for probably 3 or 4 years now. And I've been friends with, both of you and Oz and, Mega J and all these guys, everybody in the Cabal community as far as all those mythic shows. So when a new project like this comes about, it's easy to reach out to one of my friends who has a YouTube show and say, hey, have you seen this? And they're usually pretty excited about it too. So right off the bat, it's not me going and having to beg somebody for something that, number one, me being an unknown to them, and bringing them an unknown product and being like, hey, stranger, I've got this strange product you've never heard of. Would you help me promote it? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It's a warm conversation. And usually I also know, like, for instance, again, long before this project came along, I know that me and Ed had both talked in previous streams about how we love pirates and wish they were, they seem to be a missing element of the toy community right now, them and cowboys,
Yep.
So I mean, like, this was like, hey, is somebody out there listening? You know what I mean? So that was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's awesome, man. And as you were talking, because you were saying how you had all these connections and stuff, if the Creative Realms shirt doesn't have the logo on the front that says Creative Realms like it does today, and the next edition on the back that says check my references, you've missed out on a huge opportunity. Like, you've missed out on a huge opportunity. So just so you know. That said, this doesn't happen by accident, right? Like, you guys came up with this, but how did you get into this? And what made you realize this was something that was needed? What caused the, like, I know you kind of teased a little bit when we talked about it in the news, like the store and all of that, but like, what, how did you get into it, I guess, is the straight narrow.
So it's funny. I don't know if it's, I've been involved in sales for a long time. I mean, I had a 25 year career in sales and marketing, and I've loved toys since I was a kid. I mean, I definitely went through a gap like most people where you don't collect toys for a while. And like a lot of people probably refound it back during COVID. You know what I mean? Like, when I think a lot of people started going backwards a little bit, getting nostalgic. But I mean, even in all those years in between, I was a comic collector, a video game player. You know what I mean? There were still things I picked up here and there. But getting back into it and finding such a home within the toy community, particularly the Legions community, but beyond that, even, like, again, I used to be frequently in all the Geek Dad Life channel stuff and Mega J's channel stuff, and like always in the chats. I mean, I have just so many, I would say my modern day friends are mostly people in the toy community, and as a result, this seemed like a natural fit, me being somebody who is as passionate about it and having sort of a bit, like, when I watch stuff in the news, I can't help but having, thoughts that I probably wouldn't say out loud here, but like going, oh, I know why they're doing that. You know what I mean? Or having insights about why this equals that, you know what I mean? Because of the fact that you just see how things are moving in the marketplace. As a result, I tend to make those connections, and I just feel as if this was a gap that I think needed to be filled. And, and I have so many friends who are people who've had products or have products that they're selling. Billy Beige is a good example. He's been selling his products on Etsy, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like if it were put in front of people at shows, he'd sell a lot more. We actually had somebody early on who was going to be on the table, and they ended up backing out because they can't keep up with that kind of demand. They said, hey, listen, I actually close up my shop once in a while when I start getting orders, so I can't do that. So that made sense. You know what I mean? We don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position. But, for somebody who is looking to produce product and can keep up with the scalability of it, that's great. You know what I mean? And what I think about our project that makes sense is, hypothetically, if you found you got to a point where you were overburdened by orders, we can take Hexastacks off the table for a while and bring it back when things are more manageable. You know what I mean? Like, and we could still, one of the things we're talking about is keep it, like, having a website that would actually have all of our. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll just buy more printers. Don't worry. I'll just buy more printers.
He will.
I figured out the solution. I got the printers. I know what I'm doing. I'll just buy more printers.
But
my wife won't be happy. But
yeah, we've talked about like having like a setup where we'll have an ongoing website, like an archive of who are current, the people that we have on our table and who we've had on the table. So this way, nobody actually ever falls out of circulation, but a matter of being able to, this is what we can fit on the table for these set of shows. You know what I mean? And, still feel free to check them out. Check out our website. You can still find them. And they'll still be available, if they're not like retired, so to speak. But the idea being that we want to see everyone succeed. We feel as if, and I think it's talking about the positivity you mentioned earlier. I think it's infectious. You know what I mean? Like when you're positive minded, and I think when you're willing to put the effort into helping other people, you don't have to worry about your own success. It'll come with it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that people recognize your efforts, and it just reciprocates. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of, we've seen so many people, absolutely. We've seen so many people just reach out. To give you an example, Brian and Les Fables, when he saw we were doing this, he offered to make those flags for us. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something I necessarily reached out to him for, but when he proposed it, I was like, that's awesome. Yes, let's work together on that, and it's just something where, again, this community is so amazing. I know you guys both know this, and I know probably quite a few people in the chat know it, but when something is out there and you have a willing audience, like, again, we'll talk to anybody, you know what I mean? If it makes sense, it makes sense, and we want to see great ideas come to fruition, which I think with these two Kickstarters as an example, and another one that we're hoping to work with, we've already have talks, but we'll be able to report something more soon on that. But we're looking to promote another Kickstarter that's coming up in the near future. So we're very excited about this because, just to put a timeline on this, Tide Realms will run through May, and then at the end of May, they'll be done. It'll either succeed or won't, and by all means, hopefully we hope it's going to be a breakthrough success. And, then we'll have Rise of the Fifth Sun in June, but there's going to be what happens after that. And we have plans for that, so, I mean, I think that those things are what make them stand out. We have to like a project first, I think, first and foremost, and believe that it's something worth getting that visibility, and, to Ed's point earlier, we don't want to put our name on something that we don't agree with, or with a creator who we don't agree with necessarily, in attitude. Most of the people we've worked with have been, all the people we've worked with have been wonderful, and awesome people, and it's great to get that feedback, so.
I like how you said everybody's wonderful. I mean,
well, yes, obviously.
Yeah.
Some people even in name, and not just name only, by the way,
you kind of covered one of the next questions I was going to ask, which, you're already established yourself as a go-to in I don't know how big of a circle, but a big enough one where, as you said, let me tell you what happens next, right? After June, which is exciting. I'm excited to hear about that. But how do you decide which projects to work with and which ones, what not to? I know you kind of teased on that a little bit earlier, but do you have like a 5 Likert scale that like is like, oh, I'm going to work with them if they check these boxes, or is it a feel? Like, what does that normally go with?
I do. And we've actually, it's gotten to the point where I've actually created a form, like an application form of sorts, you know what I mean? Like, just to kind of go through a checklist of what makes sense for us to work with, because I think for a number of reasons, you have to pick projects that make sense. You know what I mean? Like, number one, are are they things that I would be passionate about and support? Because I never want to be inauthentic. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to convey what I feel about something authentically and with sincerity, and be able to tell people how much I think it's great. And I realize it may not be for you, but at least I'm going to tell you why I think it's great. And you may be like-minded and you might not be, but check this out, see what it's like. This is what I'll tell you about it. Maybe I'll tell you the story about the people behind it, and what I know about it. And that's, that's the first part. Do I like it? But second of all,
but I was going to say, but it's also not just, hey, I want to back what I want to put on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something out there that maybe is just not my taste, but yet is a really cool idea, and I know other people are going to be excited about it, I can get behind that. I can be excited for something else that brings excitement to someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to be what I want on my shelf, but it's helpful when it is.
Listen, just
Like,
because
you may not care for you may not care for zombies, but if it's a really good thing, you're going to be like, oh, let's talk about this and promote it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think Gina's just talking about this lady who approached us about a Rainbow Bright knockoff called Cupcake Kathy, and that I wasn't really on board for it, but no, that didn't happen. But like, I'm just, again, I think it's a matter of, again, it's a matter of filling, that need of seeing something out there that we think would be great. I mean, all these Kickstarters that are running right now would totally be up my alley. You know what I mean?
Those are all going to be on our shelves.
You know what I mean? Like, I think, what we said about Cryptoids earlier, there's a few items in there that I still want, you know what I mean? Regardless of whether I back the whole thing or not. I've already backed Brian Burke already. I will be completely all in on both Rise of the Fifth Sun and on Tide Realm Corsairs. Another one coming down the line is From the Realm. That looks incredible, which is coming from Carlos and JP. Carlos, you might know from Badass Reviews. Just a fantastic looking line. Was great to spend some time with JP at ToyLanta.
We saw them last year for the first time at ToyLanta, and that was the first male action figure that I saw and went, oh, I can't wait to paint that. So again, really cool stuff. So hopefully,
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that one. Haven't heard a timeline on that one yet,
right.
But that's what I'm excited about.
I would say that would be the second part of it, is figuring out, does it fit into our timeline? Mm-hmm. Because we want to make sure everything that we bring to the table is cohesive, that it's not overlapping, but yet it can be complementary to whatever else is on the table. So that's
awesome.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, through earlier discussion, that aligns with when Terrence, you reached out back in late last year and started talking about the stands. It's not competitive with anything else. Especially for what I'm doing, it's an accessory. It's a supplemental thing that can be used with anything. So that's
one of the weird things on my application though is does the figure fit within the Hexastack figure display? And if they don't fit the foot pegs, they're out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And I mean that checks out. That checks out.
I really think that they're missing an opportunity with this Cupcake Kathy though. If they went with Cupcake Karen, they could have like real action, like throwing cupcake or coffee action, right?
But the manager comes in the second wave.
Right, you could put her in the car and have her throw the coffee at the windshield because they beeped at her or something like that. I mean, it'd be perfect.
So, by the way, what I'm hearing is me and Ed are going to start a company. Travis and you are not going to start a company.
Right.
Hold on. I got something to add here. You can have Jake, the customer service representative, in his khakis and his red shirt, taking all his phone calls. I got it. We're good. We're good.
We're good.
We're good.
That's wave 2. The manager has to come in wave 2.
Yes.
Okay. So where's the customer service rep go?
That's true.
He's a stretch goal.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I like it.
Yeah.
And Jessica, the new Karen, can come in wave 3.
There you go.
I heard about that today. That's funny. I heard.
This is how Kickstarters are made, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I, kind of covered all of that. Moving on, right? What's the difference between what you do and what a typical toy company does?
Well, I think it's a couple things. Number one, we are not corporate. You know what I mean? Like, I think we are true. Like when you go to like a Hasbro or a Mattel, they're going to put you through focus groups. They're going to put you through their marketing machine of whatever their criteria is, what they think is mass producible. It's going to go out to their Targets and their Walmarts. I think we realize right off the bat, the days of these types of indie projects that we're looking at, the chance for them ending up on a Target shelf or a Walmart shelf are almost non-existent. You know what I mean? At least not at this stage, because I don't think those big companies are going to take a gamble on these unknown brands or unknown IPs. Whereas I think, because I'm a collector and I look at things, I kind of have a finger on the pulse of what I think many other collectors might like and would like, and as a result, number one, we'll have that conversation with that indie collector. We'll find out whether they're real or not real. Are they just making a product hoping to make a quick buck, or are they somebody who's truly interested in doing something that's going to be, if it has legs, hopefully, you'll see 3, 4, 5 waves of something, go the distance, you know what I mean? And maybe become the next big. I think everyone kind of nowadays looks at Mythic Legions as kind of like the benchmark, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, I think that's a unique situation where you have these guys who worked in the industry, went out and did their own thing, but now they have a line that's been going for 11, 12 years, going strong and expanding into other, lines like Figure Obscura, Infinite Legions, Cosmic Legions. That's not, I don't think that's going to easily be redone, but it's definitely something that I think everybody else looks at, especially for the kind of reputation that company has. I think a lot of people really go out of trying to mirror the same kind of customer service and approachability that, those guys have at places like Legions Con. They're not hiding in their corporate offices. They're out there dealing with the actual collectors, and having intimate conversations, I've gone to Legions Con for the last 4 years. It's great to talk to those guys. And that's what I kind of think we do, in the sense of we're making these products, accessible, both the creator coming to us and us bringing it to the collectors. We're creating that instant conversation between them. And it's a real conversation. It's not something where you're just getting, lip service from a public relations guy. I brought up Costco earlier because if you've ever been to a Costco, they just hire whoever for minimum wage probably to work. And I'm not saying anything against that, but you're not getting someone who's passionate about selling this grill, you know what I mean? Or the phone service or whatever, you know what I mean? Whereas we are electing to take on, some of these projects personally because of our own belief in them. And then going out there and really, I think Brick said it a couple of days ago, and I really liked what he said. He had referred to us as championing for the indie toy projects out there. And I feel like that's apt. It's an apt statement because we're out there and we are literally campaigning on their behalf and trying to get the word out there. So we really hope that other people embrace this and are as enthusiastic about it as we are.
And so what are those people that go to like the government lobbyists? You're like toy lobbyists.
Yes.
You're like the toy lobbyists for the community, the independent toy lines. I know it's got a dirty sound to it. Sorry. Hopefully I didn't offend anybody. But,
I was going to say big toy, but we're not big toy. So I guess that, we're
right.
toy guys, but
so one of the things, and I was going to talk to it is, and I forgot, I lost track. Give me 1 second. If you want to grab any of the chats real quick, Ed, real quick.
I was just going to say, hey to our good bro, Ted Darklaw, stopping and saying hello, friends. What's up, Ted? Nice to see you still on the right side of the dirt, brother.
Hey, Ted.
And Brick saying,
okay, so
some of those Costco folks are hardcore. Yeah, some of them are hardcore.
Very true. Very true.
So I got my question, and my question was, you mentioned, and I meant to ask this before, and I lost track of it, but it came back up. You mentioned, May is the month for Tide Realm, and we'll talk about that in a second, and Rise of the Sun after, and then whatever's next. Do you guys disappear after that? Or are you still engaged with these guys, helping and providing them support or guidance? And how does that partnership continue after a Kickstarter wraps? And you don't work with just Kickstarters, right? I'm not a Kickstarter anymore. No. Brian's not a Kickstarter. So how does that look after a 30-day Kickstarter engagement?
No, I can't see me and Quaid. I think now we are bonded at this point. I think his wife has questions at this point, about how often he spends time on the phone with me. But no, I think that what'll happen is, I think, and there's been a little bit of, again, Quaid, being kind of, I don't want to word this the wrong way, but this is the first time he's engaged in a Kickstarter, in a matter of speaking. So basically setting his expectations, because when you're going through this, every part of it seems like this is the tough part. And I mean, you've gone through the Kickstarter process.
Yeah.
Coming up with an idea is tough. Getting it in front of people is tough. Going through whatever the month or month and a half of a Kickstarter, actually watching that bar of funding has got to be like anxiety ridden. Mm-hmm. But afterwards, it may be a year to 2 years before those figures are ever actually produced. You know what I mean? And that's not somebody sitting in their house just waiting for it to happen. That's a lot of back and forth with factories. That's a lot of back and forth with production, with quality control, paint samples, check mark, copies, all these different things that have to have articulation, engineering. And at all those points, I feel like Quaid and I will still be talking about this stuff, and I will still be helping him. I'll, in a similar way, I kind of see the possibility that it might be similar to like what Brick does with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, where we might still be involved in giving updates. And then post, when the figures actually come out, this is kind of jumping ahead, but thinking future wise,
victory lap, man. Victory lap.
We hope to expand the booth to not just being talking about like, hey, this is what's coming next, but hey, here's this second side of what we do, which is the Hall of Fame, like the figures actually available to sell, to the public. Like these are projects we worked on that actually happened. You know what I mean? Like, and you can get behind those projects, and hopefully they're working on wave 2 or 3 or whatever it might be at that point.
That part of it, Terrence, is really a good thing for especially people like you said, like Quaid and Abigail, where they're not going to be able to get to all these shows all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Travis talked about Savage Crucible for probably 7 years before I went to Joe Fest and finally bought my first one, which was the Ball and Chain Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And had I not,
I just talked a lot. It wasn't 7 years.
Okay, 6. But if I hadn't seen it at the show, I probably would have never gone and actually just bought one. I would have waited for Travis to finally send me one to convince me to go to that side of the force, right? But it's like having those figures available, even if it's not something you worked on previously, could be something that's worthwhile to help out other people that are, just starting with toy launches or IP launches,
Sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, at this point, everyone that we've represented, we consider friends. So, whether it's Quaid and Abigail, who we didn't know when we first started this, but they've talked so much that they're like besties. But these are people that we're always going to have in our lives. Like these are not people, we're not going to be like, bye guys. No, we're here for the long haul.
That's awesome. And I think one of the things I you mentioned, Terrence, is that there's going to be, a gap between closure and delivery, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all, and that gap varies, right? Like some are releasing quicker than others, obviously getting in the front of the line. Some are taking a little bit longer. I actually think it might be almost as important to have your involvement in some of that space, to be able to fill that gap and stay at the forefront, like you mentioned, in a brick-like capacity to some degree, or potentially, the opportunity to, maybe the, production samples are ready, or, whatever, you can have that at the floor. And it's like, okay, maybe they're not, like you said, the Hall of Fame, I think you referred to it as, but like maybe they're not on your main stage, right? Which is that we're promoting this right now, but there's the follow us still, preview or coming soon's, like your coming soon spot, right? Like we're on the verge, we funded, we're in process, and it'd be good to have that. So I think you could play a very important role there, because I personally, I don't struggle. Like I know Brick and Adam and Jason and Spiro, and I know that they deal with the headache of running and supporting that entity, right? With consumers that are way more like, hey, where's my stuff than I am. Like, I'm like, when that shit gets here, I'm going to be happy. I know it's quality. I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
you put me in the back and just let me know my stuff's coming. I'm going to be happy. Like, but there are people who are going to want to see and feel and have that smell.
And that's a
They're-
huge part of what we do right now. I mean, I feel like in addition to just, obviously here's these two great Kickstarters, here's these other products. One of the big things I find is, we're at Toylanta and you would think that, hey, you're in a toy convention, you're surrounded by people who understand how toys are made. Whereas we had people that were walking up going, hey, can I just buy something, wanting to grab the prototype off the table? And I'm like, no, that's not for sale. And trying to explain Kickstarter to them, and some are like, "Oh, I never do Kickstarter." But meanwhile, they're just coming away from the Four Horsemen table, and I would say, "Hey, do you do all ends with Four Horsemen?" And they say, "Yeah." And I go, "You're already doing Kickstarters. You're ordering toys 2 years before they come, and then waiting for them. You're putting your money down, and But the difference is, you're not on Kickstarter as an example, but you're still putting money down and then waiting for your figures to arrive. And you're doing so because you believe in Four Horsemen, as an example,
right.
Or you believe in Spiro, as an example. But the difference is just trying to get them to see the light bulb at that point where it's like, oh yeah, I'm already doing this. And in the case of these particular Kickstarters, Four Horsemen's involved in it. So that integrity should translate over. You know what I mean? Like there's a sense of like, the involvement there, the quality control, all of that is still, incredibly part of all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And before we kind of go into the next one, I know we've talked about it a bunch, but tell us, we talked about, why you're not like a normal toy company. We've also kind of talked about kind of your platform and the partnership, but there's two other pieces on this page. One specifically, May 1st, Tide Realm Corsairs is kicking off. Talk to us a little bit about Tide Realm Corsairs launching on May 1st, and then the Rise of the Fifth Sun. What should people be paying attention to right now? And, what excites you about each of those projects before we go to the next one?
Well, Tide Realm Corsairs launches May 1st, so we're only less than 3 weeks, maybe a little more than 2 weeks away from that launching. And it's going to be incredible. Right now, what you've seen so far, the 3 captains, that have been shown. We've mentioned that crew builders are coming. I've also, very, very subtly hinted that there's more to be seen there. And so, you're going to see some stuff released on day one, and you'll see how the entire Kickstarter campaign will be laid out from there. But that is going to have a 30-day, the full month of May will be the Kickstarter for Tide Realm Corsair. My understanding is in May, on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, we will see the launching of the landing page for Rise of the Fifth Sun. Just a random date they chose was Cinco de Mayo. I don't know why they did that with a Aztec mythological line. But you will see that happen on the 5th of May, and that'll be the runway. And in June, that line will go up for Kickstarter. I believe that'll probably be a month-long Kickstarter as well. And that, so far from that, we've seen the 4 gods that they've shown, plus the Aztec warrior. So those will be available in that Kickstarter. I haven't seen as much about what's going on beyond that, but I will tell you, if you follow Jason the Demon Rodriguez, that guy does not rest. He's constantly producing more stuff. So I would be shocked if there's not more to that campaign than what we've seen so far.
I'm pretty sure that I have this head sculpt. I'm pretty sure he made this lion's head that I have.
That looks
I'm 90% sure that was something he designed. That name stands out to me so familiar.
Well, it's funny. I've been buying. I didn't even realize, but I've been buying a lot of head sculpts from a lot of vendors at toy shows. And when I look through Jason's files, if you go to his page on Instagram, every month he does an STL file that he sells to printers.
Yep.
And when I look through there, I'm like, I've got 2 of those. I've got 3 of those. I've got, because I guess he's just so prolific that a lot of sellers at shows are selling his sculpts, and
he offers some sort of resellers price and stuff. I've purchased a few from him for the heads and stuff. That's how I have that, and I have a few others that I've shared with other people. So yeah, he's a very talented sculptor for sure.
Absolutely.
So really quick, I'm just going to plug, if you are not already following Tide Realms on Kickstarter, please go do that. because the more people that are following that Kickstarter, the more Kickstarter is going to promote them. And we want to get them in front of as many people as possible before the Kickstarter goes live, because again, the more we can get the word out, the better off we're going to do.
And right now we're over 900, I believe. So, I mean, I actually haven't looked at it today, but I think we're over 900. I think we announced 900 a couple days ago. So, I mean, it's a matter of the fact that, we would like to get to 1,000. I mean, like other Kickstarters have been successful without 1,000 followers. But again, it's also getting that added boost from Kickstarter itself to, help get the word out there and help, because they do a lot of marketing if you get your followers up. So we're looking to get that as far as we can,
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. And they're at 929 as of this moment. I just posted a link in the chat for folks. So go ahead and follow that, and keep your eye out for that. Definitely go ahead and do that. Up next, I did have one more slide here for this. I know we're coming up on time. If you guys got a couple more minutes,
we're ready for a 39-hour marathon if you want, just like they did for the Mythic Legions role play. Let's go. If you don't have anywhere to be tomorrow, we'll keep going. Get the coffee going. Let's go.
So it's definitely bigger than just projects, right? It feels like it's a shift in the space. It's a gap that's being filled. So, Ed, from your perspective, what is your kind of closing, remarks on this?
I think, like you said, this is definitely a gap I think needed to be filled. Brick and Adam kind of filled that gap with a specific line, right? Spiro Toys. They kind of did some of this and helped, Jason, who had already started with some of his other stuff because he had the 4-inch smaller figures and stuff like that. So not the same, but this is a gap that definitely needs to be filled. And honestly, I can't think of two better people to fill that gap. First of all, like they said, they're especially Terrence. I haven't talked to Gina enough to know that she's a Gabby person, but I can imagine that she is, because I can't imagine having a conversation with those two like at dinner. Just I'd love to be a fly on the wall because it'd probably be a great conversation to overhear. But yeah, just filling that gap of helping people that want to get their ideas out there that don't know how, or maybe not 100% comfortable with it, like Gina said before, or just not able to do it because they can't make it to all these different shows that are out there. And Gina and Terrence are kind of in a great spot because there's a lot of shows that go on in the Southeast. There's plenty that go on the rest of the country, but a lot of them happen along the Eastern Seaboard, especially in the southern part of it. So it gives them a lot of opportunity to get out there and help promote people, and like they're doing for you, right? I mean, you can't, because of your family and your regular job and stuff like that, can't get out to all these shows to promote Hexastack and to get it sold at conventions where it's really going to sell a lot easier than online. So it's a perfect combination to fill two types of gaps that are
I think Hexastack works great as like it's a great point of sale type product. You know what I mean? Especially if you're at a toy show, you're picking stuff up. I think that was one of the things that I felt bad about at Toylanta. Was we had so many people that walked up, picked up the card, looked at it, had a conversation with us, but then walked off, and you don't know if they're scanning or going to the website afterwards and stuff like that. But like had we had product there, I feel like we would have made, and I don't know how many sales, but like having product there definitely would have multiplied the opportunity to make sales.
Yeah, the Hexastack is definitely a product that will sell better at a toy show or a convention like that, with figures standing on it there and people seeing it, than what they're checking out online, because you just don't get the feel for it, and all the stuff, right?
And I think that's one of those things now. We don't live in an age where we have like a Toys R Us anymore or something like that, where you can go into a store, check something out. You're kind of buying stuff online, and you have your you're hoping. I mean, I think I just laughed the other day because we were returning something at a Kohl's from Amazon. I'm like, I feel like Amazon's got to think I just buy things to return them now, because I get so many products that I just don't like. But when you go to a show and can pick up something and actually tangibly feel it and check it out and go, "Yep, this is what I want. I'll take 10 of them." You know what I mean? I just think it's a much better situation. You know what I mean?
I think it's also a lot of the guys in the adult collecting community, right? Because most of us are adult collectors. I mean, you got people bringing their kids, but kids aren't coming to toy shows by themselves, really.
Right.
We're all very used to being able to see a product on a shelf or touch it or know what it's about.
Yeah.
Like going to a store and trying on a pair of shoes is a lot different than trying to figure out if you're going to buy the right size off of, Nike.com, right? It's just a different situation. And being able to see the lid open and how much storage is available in a hex stack is going to promote that and make a sale a lot easier than just looking at a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, and I think you pointed right. Like the hex stack isn't targeted towards kids; it's more that transitional from child to, curator or collection, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I still get, I still play with my toys, right? But like, the idea is that there's a portion of them that are locked in the box behind me and on display that I'm not messing with. But there's a question in the chat. I'm going to throw it over to you, Terrence and Gina, before I go ahead and show it. Opening with you've got New Jersey, you got ToyCon New Jersey this upcoming weekend. There's a question in the chat from Dustin around Hexastack at IshCon. I'll let you answer this. But also, what other conventions and where are you headed with that?
So right now we're prepared to announce the fact that right now for Tide Realms and Rise of the Fifth Sun, we are currently going to be at ToyCon New Jersey next weekend. The last weekend of May, we will be at IshCon, and we just finalized plans that Ed's going to be working the booth with us at Joe Fest. So he'll be there to help us move some Hexastacks. But no,
hold on 1 second. Hold on. Ed, how do I not know this?
Because I didn't know it either.
Hey, listen, it's Joe Fest. You got drafted, motherfucker. That's where you're coming. You know what I mean? So no, but in all seriousness, we will be at Joe Fest thanks to Ed Schumacher, who saw the projects that we're working on. He gave us an incredible deal. And that's one of the things I'll say about a lot of the organizers is that they've seen what we're doing and they also recognize the gap that we're filling. And one of the things I thought was heartwarming from Ed Schumacher, who I didn't know that well, I'd seen him in some streams with like Punk as an example, is that he literally said, he's like, listen, I want you to bring these Kickstarters to the show this year. And he's like, and I want you to come back and then sell the finished product the year after. He's like,
that's awesome.
So like, he was committed to it. And I don't know if he'll watch this or not, but I definitely want to put like a heartfelt thanks and shout out to Ed Schumacher for having
that's the shout out from the Crick.
Yeah, there you go.
I will be on Punk stream with Ed in a few weeks, and I will definitely make sure that I say thank you to him for that.
Thank you.
And we always love Joe Fest. We see Ed every year at Joe Fest, and all of our great. And again, I think I even kidded with you about like for Joe Fest, coming up with some special ideas for that. Or like I'm not sure, I think you and I talked about that. I'm not sure, but as far as the question about IshCon, we will definitely be at IshCon. And as far as I'm concerned, any con I'm at, there should be some Hexastacks there. You know what I mean? Like. We're going to bring Hexastacks to anybody who's interested. So,
Absolutely. There will be. I'm committed to it. I've got plenty of round-the-clock production going. And like I said, I'm not getting kicked off that table, so I'll just get another printer.
We're going to just keep it valid,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Awesome, thank you, and Dustin. So that is yes. If you're holding tight and you're not quite sure yet, I definitely recommend going to one of these conventions that Creative Realms is going to be at, whether it be IshCon or ToyCon New Jersey. Check it out. There'll be plenty of really cool stuff. The coolest being the most wonderful modular patented system that exists, and that's Hexastack. That said, my other question for you, and we'll wrap it up here in just a second, is long-term vision. You hinted towards it. What is that? What is the long-term vision of Creative Realms, but beyond consulting and being a partner with these Kickstarters and stuff? What does that long-term goal look like for you guys?
Like I said, we're still aiming towards going to the physical store, which the store would actually be a combination store and customizing studio. So you'd be able to buy your toys there, or if you're a collector, you can come on in. We'll have 3D printing stations there. We'll have airbrush setups, painting setups, where we can have nights or days that are dedicated to that, which will also double as a gaming space on other nights of the week. But I think as far as this, we've come to really see how necessary that we think this particular project is as far as getting out to cons, helping a lot of these projects get recognized and a lot of these creators get recognized. Gina and I have already started to talk about maybe being at 20 to 25 shows a year in the coming year. Probably in 20, next year after we get through this season. But I think as part of that, I want to go beyond toy shows. Sorry, I just repeated my words there. But I think one of the thoughts that I've had has been, getting some of these indie projects seen by people beyond just the normal toy collectors. For instance, if you're doing something that is a fantasy line, maybe going to a Ren fair, maybe taking a horror themed toy line to a horror themed convention, basically being able to get more breakthrough, as far as taking things into spaces that I don't see them already filling. So it's expanding that visibility to other areas that I think are being left behind currently. I think things like Four Horsemen or AWOC or a lot of these lines that are out there, they're doing what makes sense from a commercial standpoint of bringing, if they're having to ship in a whole bunch of toys to a spot, they're going to do that at a place that's dedicated to toy sales. Whereas I think for a Kickstarter, which doesn't have a lot of inventory, bringing it someplace where somebody's not expecting to see it and then see something on a table where they're like, oh my God, that makes sense. I think that's a fantastic idea from Adam. I just don't know
I'll bring the stands.
if Adam doesn't know, he's going to soon find out what scritching is. I don't know if he's aware of what scritching is, but he should look into it.
I don't.
I'm just wondering if the angry Canadian will cosplay for the furry conventions.
I want him to be a Wolverine.
That's awesome. So no, that's exciting. I think when you mentioned it to me when we talked last year, I thought the idea of this. I said it. I told you from the get go. This is a niche, area that is definitely lacking, and being able to curate all of the knowledge and connections and help bring that to the forefront for a lot of these folks is a tremendous idea. It's not just about the products; it's about the people, right? The partnerships and getting it out there to present to the world, right? And the masses beyond even just toy collectors. And I think you can look at what the Four Horsemen have done with the RPG tabletop stuff and how they are trying to parlay their success here into there. And I think that you can definitely, there's opportunity with that across other areas too. An example for me is I'm likely going to take Texas Stack to some of the local card shows, because I have a card display piece that goes on top of the stands, and you'd be able to display your cards on these stands in addition. Maybe you don't need the storage and stuff. Maybe that's not necessarily where people want to spend, and use, but there's a lot of opportunity there to display them in that modular stacking configuration. So I totally understand trying to play into that other space for sure. If there's one thing that you want creators and collectors to take away when, in 2 years and they come back and look at this awesome ToyLeet episode with two of the coolest people in the community that are doing one of the coolest things that, I've seen folks do over the last 6 months, a couple of years, in a space that definitely needed to be, fulfilled, what would you want them to be the takeaway for that?
I really hope that they look back and feel as if these two people, next to the two most incredible people on YouTube right here, are looking back going, hey, those two knuckleheads in Florida trying to put this thing together are sticking to their guns and being, holding to their integrity and their character and still doing awesome things for other people. You know what I mean? Like, I hope that we are still looked upon with respect and, that we've upheld the values that we have now. I think that, I can't guarantee the success of all these Kickstarters that we're going to work with, but I wanted them to realize, and anybody we work with in the future, that we're always going to give it our best effort, and that, that's our goal. Our goal is to give them our best effort and to give them as much visibility as we can and to responsibly, I feel so honored that both of these brands have trusted me with their prototypes. I think that, for someone who they barely know in a way, they might know me through YouTube or through a couple conventions. It's a big level of trust to send these things out and hope that, the right things are done, and I never forget that. and I hope that people look at us, 2 years from now and go, that was trust that was put in the right place.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I can say, obviously people weren't entrusting me the same things that, they are you, right? Like these high priced valuables that could, be lost or stolen or, different things or, whatever. But, as a creator of Hexastack and, folks like you and, different individuals, Mega J Retro, so many people from the get-go in this community have, it's so gratifying to get that support from people. So as somebody who's been trying to play in this space, having someone like you come to me, 5 months ago maybe now and try to partner with me on this with Hexastack, I'm honored for people like you reaching out and offering that opportunity, and it's so gratifying to see. And you made a point earlier in that so many of your current friends and whatnot are people you've met through this environment, through the YouTube, through the toy conventions. It's the same way I go. I text with some friends that I still have locally and whatnot, but I probably spend a lot more time with the back and forth with I think you and Ed and Lawrence and others and Ted from Helidope. So definitely can appreciate what you're saying there, and I think you guys have hit the nail on the head with a business model and an opportunity to help folks like me, folks like Quaid, folks like the Jasons over at Rise of the Fifth Sun, if I remembered it fully this time.
Yep.
Whatever's next. I'm excited to see it. Thank you for letting me be a part of it. Thank you for letting the ToyLeet have you guys on to speak to it and help you promote it. I look forward to seeing you guys next weekend. Myself and Son of Wonder will be getting there bright and early on Saturday morning. I will be bringing boxes on boxes or stacks on stacks on stacks, better yet, and hopefully moving those. Looking forward to it. I will bring my Creative Realms shirt. Looking forward to bringing that with me.
He'll be in a
Is there
pirate
anything you guys
suit
want?
on Saturday.
What's that?
I said he'll be in his pirate suit on Saturday.
Awesome. Is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap up?
I just hope as many people that have the opportunity to come to one of these shows come by and say hey, and talk to us a little bit, or just come by and see the Kickstarters. But I do hope that, like I said, like Gina said earlier, go check out the Kickstarter, for Tide Realm right now. You can go hit the notify button for when it goes live. And definitely check out the IG channels for both projects. You can definitely go to Creative Realms and find both on our collabs that we've done so far. But I don't think you'll be disappointed. Again, to Gina's point earlier, check out those colored versions of Rise of the Fifth Sun because they are stunning,
Yes.
Absolutely. That'll be great. I'm looking forward to seeing those next week. And that said, Ed, is there anything else you want to say before I give the next piece?
Yeah, I would just like to apologize to Gina and Terrence in advance, since Gina said that the people they work with become lifelong friends, and now you have Travis as a lifelong friend. So I apologize in advance for that.
I think they already were, though. So.
I love him, but I'm also crazy, so it's easy for me too. But no, seriously, thank you guys.
We love you guys.
I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple of months at Joe Fest. So always like to see you guys. So you guys are great. You're doing a great thing. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You.
Awesome.
Happy to help.
That said, thank you. That said, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll be recapping that New Jersey, the ToyCon New Jersey. We'll be talking about what would we fix in the toy industry. And this isn't going to be focused on independent toys. It's going to be focused on if we were Ed Bro or Travis Bro or Travtel or Edtel, whatever we want to call it, we'll be doing that. So we look forward to catching up with you guys there. Check out the Instagram for the Hexastack and the ToyLeet and Ed over on Axion Figs. I know we're appearing all over the place. I'll be on some upcoming streams with Toy Domination, with Mega J Retro, and a number of others. So look forward to connecting with folks there. Otherwise, I think I normally tell people to just kind of stay wonderful.